Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Wilton, joined by Sergeant Wilton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, I see so many people who work in law enforcement and they're so proud of the job. But when we have these silent conversations together, they are on the brink of quitting. I actually know somebody who this year did quit his job and then basically was begged to stay. And so we had conversations about renegotiating what that looked like for him. And luckily he works for a very small department to where that can take place. And even if you don't, I think there are a lot of ways that it still could take place. And so he ended up staying, doing what he does. But I know that for a lot of people, they don't really outspokenly discuss how difficult and dangerously close things feel for them in terms of wanting to just leave the job altogether.
Yeah, I think you get comfortable in certain states to where it's scary to be able to break out of that regular kind of cycle. But over time, like I can say this, I know a lot of officers during the 2020 Summer of Love that people were just fed up. Officers were just fed up and saying, why am I doing this when nobody likes us and it's just not, this isn't what I thought the job was supposed to be.
Yeah, and you, as you listen to this, you might be proud of what you do, you respect the badge, you believe in the service, and yet something inside of you could be tired, disillusioned, or quietly asking yourself, how much longer can I do this? And
that's where it's you start getting to, there's so many different reasons as to why you're getting to that state. You could be just burnt out. You could just be exhausted. And it's not that you don't want to do the job anymore. You're just exhausted because you've invested so much time and effort into your job and not reforming it as a job instead of looking at, well, this is my sustainability. This is what I do to live my life.
Yeah. And, after doing this for so long and working with so many first responders throughout the years, I think that what I've come to learn is that pride and burnout can coexist without meaning that you failed or betrayed the job.
Yeah. I think that when you're so proud of what you do, but you're so exhausted because you've been investing all your time and effort into your job instead of, your family, instead of, or finding those unhealthy habits because that's what you think you have to do. You start getting yourself burnt out more and more instead of looking at, okay, what dynamic do I need to shift and change compared to, let me just walk away from it.
The psychological concept here is called cognitive dissonance, and in particular in service roles with what we're discussing today. And this happens when you have two deeply held truths that are existing at the same time. And that's what creates this internal stress. So for first responders, it might sound like this job matters, but then on the other side, it says this job is costing me too much.
Yeah. And I think especially with, as I was saying, like during the whole 2020 riot situation to where, you go into this career, this job thinking, oh, well, I'm making a difference. I'm going out to protect the community, to be present, to, make a difference in our world. And our reality is you're getting attacked from every angle on the streets, on the media. You're just feeling attacked all the time to where you're like, why am I risking my life day in and day out for people who just hate me?
Yeah. And a lot of the times, something else that I found is that these individuals, apart from the rare circumstances, like the whole George Floyd thing, a lot of the times there's actually something else that's causing this, and it's not that they actually want to quit their job. And so I thought that we can talk a little bit about that today, because I think that when pride and exhaustion collide, your mind tries really hard to be able to resolve the tension. And this happens through things like feeling guilty, suppression, impulsive decisions. And so it's important to understand that cognitive dissonance actually helps you to be able to navigate those crossroads clearly instead of feeling shameful about it.
Yeah, there's so many different dynamics that we deal with on a regular basis. It could be interdepartmental, to where no matter what you're striving to put in for details, you're striving to, promote, and it seems like every time you're trying to do that, you get pushback. You're not able to succeed in those ventures. And I think that we start bearing that burnout, that brunt onto ourselves, and there's a time and place where it's saying, okay, it is time for me to venture out to a different department maybe, but it maybe not leave the career or that profession in general.
Yeah, there are reasons that you can love your job and still want out of it. And I think that for a lot of people, your values haven't changed, but maybe your capacity has. So the work still matters, but your nervous system might feel super depleted.
Yeah, you start having that burnout. And that's why, and we've talked about this, is creating that dynamic to where you're not so, this is who I identify as. When you don't only feel that you're identifying as that police officer, that firefighter, then you're able to go home and shut off that switch to where you can actually be present and shut down your nervous system to be to the effect of where you're not living in that chaotic state.
On Monday's episode, I mentioned that I hate it whenever I hear people say that this isn't what I signed up for, this is what you signed up for. And the job might be something that has expanded beyond what you actually did sign up for. And some things that might contribute to this are politics, administration pressure, public scrutiny. We've seen that incredibly increase throughout the past 5 years. And, staffing shortages, they add a lot of weight.
Yeah, you start having all these different spot fires that pop up and creating those individual stressors and those changes of dynamics to where you're like, ultimately, like, I don't know if this is for me anymore. And it's okay to feel that way, but it's figuring out what you truly want and not looking at the outside influences on what's creating that dynamic.
Yeah, and here's the thing for a lot of people too, I think that their identity is tied too tightly to performance, and the job might be your primary sense of self-worth, but when that's the case, burnout actually hits even harder. Yeah,
when you're so identified as, okay, I'm not succeeding, I'm not doing what I feel I should be doing, you start having that mental breakdown of I'm not fully capable of doing this, and you start defaming yourself in your own mind of I'm not worth it, I'm not worthy of this, and that's the furthest from the truth.
I think for a lot of people, their personal life is paying the price because pride doesn't cancel out the cost of your marriage, your kids, or your health.
Yeah, I think that when you start bringing your professional experience home and you're always in that down and depressive state because those work dynamics haven't changed, and you don't have that healthy work-life balance to be able to differentiate the two, it's going to start having more of a burden. And I've heard this before, is like, my job has caused me to lose my wife. In all reality, is that true, or is it your response to your job is what caused you to lose your wife?
There are a lot of ways to be able to navigate this without any sense of regret. And what I mean by that is to actually name the good versus the bad. I remember doing this so much more when I was younger, to where I would put like the pros and the cons and physically write out a list for myself. It is so valuable to have an asset like that you can actually look at, but most importantly, that you can get honest with.
Yeah, having that on paper in front of you, you can really look at, okay, well, I in my mind, the bad was outliving or outplaying the good. But when you have it in front of you, you're like, oh, wow, I was actually wrong on that.
I'm going to say this twice because it is so important to separate the burnout from your calling. Exhaustion doesn't mean that the mission was wrong. It literally means that the support is lacking, And you need to identify what those issues are so that you can identify what type of support that you need. It could be something like going to your union and having a conversation with your union rep. It could be something as simple as maybe it's your home life that's causing that misalignment and you need more support from your spouse. It could be that maybe the person that you are disgruntled with at work needs to have them put in place. And so figuring out strategies to be able to navigate that. A lot of the times, whatever you think that is making you feel like this mission was wrong, you chose the wrong career, and that's what's causing the exhaustion, it could simply mean that you have a lack of support.
Yeah, finding that support, finding what that support means for yourself is so important, because if you can't even identify where you need to look for that support at, how are you supposed to expect someone else to support you?
I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.